What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching the daily series of Nwadei MMA, where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly, I ask for you guys' thoughts, because you guys are the MMA community. However, today we're gonna be breaking down and talking about Dustin Poirier versus Makhachev at UFC 302. Thank God, guys, we're back on schedule. As you guys know, we were super busy with UFC 300. UFC 301 was pretty anticlimactic, but came around the corner super quick. I was competing around that time, so I was lacking a little bit on content, but we're back with the MMA breakdowns. We're back talking about these big fights, and we're gonna answer the question on if Dustin Poirier can really beat Makhachev at UFC 302. Now, in order to preview this fight a little bit before we get into the film study and in-depth fight analysis, we have to understand that Dustin Poirier, well, this is maybe his last run. He was talking about it to Ariel Helwani, talking about how his daughter's gonna be at the fight for the first time in the front row. She's gonna see him win or lose, that it might be his last fight. He was saying it might be his last fight before the Benoit Denis fight as well on UFC 299. And so he's kind of just taking things fight by fight. I guess it just depends on the performance that he has, whether he wins or loses. It could be his last fight either way, which is something I think we need to talk about, but I'll save that for another video. The reason I'm talking about that is the fact that he's gonna leave everything out on the line. I mean, doesn't he always? But this time even more so. And I don't know if he's gonna take the same risks he was taking in the BSD fight, like jumping guillotines or whatnot. All of that is up to Dustin. But another thing we have to talk about is the fact that he's already fought Makhachev's influence, so to speak, Khabib Nurmagomedov. And not only did he fight him, he also had one of the best performances against him. We all remember that he almost got him in that guillotine. He landed multiple hard shots against Khabib, which not many people were actually able to do, and he was able to get up multiple times. Obviously, this Makhachev fight presents some different challenges, but to know that he's already fought someone of their team before, it's gonna help him a bit. And on the other side for Islam, this is the first time he's fighting someone other than Alexander Volkanovski in 2 fights. His last fight against the actual lightweight was Charles Oliveira when he won the belt, but since then he's fought a blown up featherweight and hasn't gotten the chance to prove his mettle against the top contenders at lightweight. Now he's coming off of a great performance against Alexander Volkanovski, dominating him and head kicking him. Even though that was on 10 days notice, it was still very impressive, the composure he showed in that fight. And so I'm very interested and excited to break this one down for you guys. But before I do that, go ahead and give me your early predictions. That way, as I'm breaking it down or after my breakdown, you can give me your final predictions for who you think is going to win at UFC 302. If you want to support the content, it's easy. Just go ahead and hit the like button. Leave your thoughts down below. And if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, you're more than welcome to subscribe and join the Nwadei MMA family to get more in-depth fight analysis, fight reactions, and MMA documentaries, which we will be coming out with more of soon. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the in-depth fight analysis and film study.
This is Noah Nwadei!
Alright guys, but real quick before we break down the fight between Makhachev and Dustin Poirier, UFC 304 has been announced with Leon Edwards headlining the event against Belal Muhammad for the rematch. Belal Muhammad's finally getting his title shot. Tom Aspinall is also defending his interim championship against Curtis Blades. If you want more details about that whole card and all those announcements and want to see my initial reaction to it, I have already posted a video that was my last video that I dropped, so go ahead and check that one out if you haven't already. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the style breakdown of Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Before we get into the film study, we must break down their styles, their stances, and what we might see accordingly before even analyzing the film. Alright guys, so Makhachev is 25-1. His only loss coming to Adriano Martins by knockout. He is 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach and a 40.5-inch leg reach. Dustin Poirier, on the other hand, is 30-8. Much more experienced in traditional mixed martial arts, but considering Islam Makhachev was doing combat sambo since teenager, that's pretty much mixed martial arts in itself. So experience is probably around the same, if not Islam might have more. Dustin Poirier is an inch shorter at 5'9" with a 2-inch reach advantage at 72 inches, and they both have the same length of legs. So as far as kicking range is concerned, where it's going to be pretty even. As far as punching range, Dustin Poirier has a slight advantage, but and the height is virtually identical as well. However, I have seen Dustin Poirier in person, and he's really not the tallest guy. He's not the biggest guy, so this one might actually be more than just a 1-inch advantage, but it's all the same, right? However, going into their styles, as far as significant strikes are concerned, he lands 3 more significant strikes per minute than Islam Makhachev, so he's definitely the more active puncher, I would say, or striker. Islam lands 60% of his significant strikes, while Dustin lands 50%. Dustin also absorbs 3 more strikes per minute, while Islam only absorbs 1 strike per minute, which is pretty crazy. And as far as their defense, Islam has a 61% strike defense, while Dustin Poirier has 53, so both pretty good defensively as well. As far as grappling, Islam averages 3 takedowns per fight to Dustin's 1, a 60% takedown accuracy to Dustin's 36, 90% takedown defense to Dustin's 63, and we're going to actually touch on Dustin's takedown defense in a second. And they both attempted the same amount of submissions per 15 minutes. Dustin's actually, oddly enough, being a little bit higher. As far as the odds, Islam's a minus 470 money line. So yeah, anyone betting on Islam, good luck. Hopefully y'all win your money. But before even getting into the breakdown, I must say this is a close fight. This is not by any means minus 470 to a plus 360 underdog. So now getting into the styles of each fighter, I mean, we all know Islam Makhachev is more known for his grappling. However, he does have really good striking, at least staying on the outside and picking apart orthodox fighters. He's very good at it. We know he likes the back leg. He likes to throw that roundhouse, the teep, the low kicks off of the back leg when facing a traditional orthodox fighter. However, now he's going against another southpaw, so it's going to take away his back leg a little bit. His hands are a little bit sus. They're not as crisp as you would like them to be, just because he's a little bit flat-footed, so he tends to over-rotate on a lot of his boxing exchanges. Rather than Dustin Poirier, it seems very fluid in his punches. He's a more natural striker, it seems like, but vice versa, he is also a striker. He is less known for his grappling. Even though he does have a jiu-jitsu black belt, he has good grappling. Just sometimes he doesn't make always the best decisions, and he's not as dominant in his grappling as someone like Islam Makhachev is, because while Dustin Poirier has a credentialed jiu-jitsu background, he doesn't have the credentials in wrestling or in judo like Islam Makhachev does, and the years and years spent grappling like Islam Makhachev does. So now, in order to break down the film for this fight for Islam Makhachev, we're going to watch his first fight with Alexander Volkanovski, because it did show a little bit of holes. He wasn't the unstoppable and super dominant force that we were used to seeing. But we're also gonna go ahead and watch his fight against Bobby Green, since that was actually a very recent fight. It was right before his Charles Oliveira fight. It was right before he got his title shot. And you know, you're only as good as your last fight, right? That's the whole mythology, right? And not only that, but Bobby Green is also, he also wrestled in high school, and he had good wrestling. He's been able to get up from really good grapplers in the past, and I was a little bit surprised at how easily, even though it was short notice, Islam was able to dominate him on the ground when it got there. So those are the fights we're going to watch from Islam. But on Dustin Poirier's side, we're going to watch his fight against Benoit, Denis, being his last fight and being a very good test before Islam Makhachev. And then we're also going to watch his fight against Michael Chandler in order to contrast all of these fights that we just mentioned. So guys, thank you for tuning into the video. I'm not going to try and take too long on this breakdown, kind of like in the past. However, I do like to give you guys in-depth fight analysis, so I'm going to give you as many details as possible, as quickly as possible. We're not going to break down the whole fight, but we're going to choose key moments in the fights in order to break down that I think will be very useful when you're trying to place your money down, right? So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you give this video a like, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to go ahead and support the content. Also, thank you guys for subscribing, to all of you who subscribed, because we are now at 2,000 subscribers. And man, this being my third channel and third time getting above 2,000 subscribers, man, it really means a lot to me. I'm gonna try my best for this channel not to be taken down and continue putting breakdowns like this out. Hopefully UFC doesn't flag me. And yeah, thank you guys. But let's go ahead and get into it. All right, first we are gonna start off with Dustin Poirier's fights. His fight against Benoit Denis. Now this one started very fast because Benoit Denis, yes, he is a good grappler. Yes, he is just a pressure forward style. Now the pressure forward style is not what is similar to Islam Makhachev. It is more him being a good grappler and him, whenever he does choose to wrestle, chaining takedowns together until he gets you down. That's what's similar. That's what we're going to be looking at, and we're going to look at how Dustin handles it. That was a good cross from Benoit Denis, actually from the southpaw stance. So that's a sneak peek at a southpaw versus southpaw. Dustin Poirier jumps on the guillotine, but when Benoit transitioned out of it, he actually did a good job of staying deep. What I mean by that is Benoit ended up getting on top, and instead of Dustin trying to pull out immediately and getting stuck in a front headlock, he instead kept his head in between the legs of Benoit, and even though it kept him down on the ground, he didn't get put in a choke. Instead, Benoit turned around to take his back. This is something that you would see out of Islam Makhachev, that almost wrestler mentality, just staying on top. And now we get to see how Dustin advances from here. Good knees from Benoit. Dustin puts his hands on the ground trying to counterbalance the weight. Benoit sticks a hook in and starts reaching along the back, trying to get that seatbelt grip. What he's doing here though is he is making Dustin carry his weight. Now they are both leaning on the fence, but carrying his weight nonetheless. Dustin, what you're gonna see in this fight is Dustin talks to the ref quite a bit in this fight, whether it's about grabbing gloves or whatnot. But I think in these scenarios, it's more important that he stays focused instead of complaining to the ref, because now he just got his back taken. Benoit actually let go of the hook in order to jump onto the back, but Dustin does a very good job shaking him off over the top, and that was actually a very high level escape. What he did there is, while I was able to get the first hook, Dustin then prevented the second hook right here with his right hand, while keeping this monitored and pinched, keeping this arm of Benoit monitored and pinched, and now he doesn't really have to worry about the choking hand. And because he doesn't really have to worry about it, even though it's under the chin, it doesn't matter, because Benoit doesn't have the second hook in. He's making sure this second hook stays out, and then he'll just be able to shake him over the top. And in order to help facilitate that, the arm that was pinching his other arm, in order to keep him from completing any kind of choke, he's not going to go over his head and pull him down off of Dustin. Nice. He actually used the other arm, but either way it would work. Benoit just keeps the pressure on him. Now this is something that's unlike Islam. Islam's not gonna, what some people would think, waste energy here. But what we do see out of Dustin is that immediately he loves going to the guillotine, man. He really does. Will it hurt him in this fight? Possibly, considering Benoit Denis popped out of every single guillotine that Dustin felt like was gonna work. Ooh, yeah, it's not a good look. But Benoit, another reason why I wanted to watch Benoit Denis fight Dustin is because he's also a southpaw. Look at this. And he's entering with this cross every single time. Islam doesn't use his jab much. He generally enters with his cross whenever he does choose to enter. Granted, he's been going against orthodox fighters majority of his career, but still, nonetheless, Benoit ends up catching him with a 2-3. Islam does have a good right hook, and then here's where Islam is going to want to be. He's going to want to be in this clinch. He's not going to strike as much out of it with his hands, but he will throw these knees, which it seems like Dustin is quite prepared for. Dustin's fighting good out of the clinch, ends up going for his own takedown, a little bit ill-advised, and then Benoit, yeah, he actually drops on a Kimura here to sweep him over the top. Yeah, so ill-advised decision making from Dustin. That's another thing I wanted to see out of Dustin in this fight, or show you guys out of Dustin in this fight, is he didn't make the best decisions. Jumping on the guillotine, I mean, granted, he's having fun and maybe that's the way he feels like he fights best, but a little ill-advised going against another grappler. Benoit ends up going to the body. It's just constant pressure. Dustin fighting good inside the pocket, using his hands. That's something, going back real quick, I told you we're not going to watch all of these fights completely. This one we will, just because it's such a short fight. But something that does scare me is that Dustin does drop his hands and go to that modified MMA like Philly shell a little bit too much, and see how his hands were down while exiting, and he throws a punch, and when he retracts it down, that kick, if it was a little bit higher, comes right across his head, just like Justin Gaethje's did. And Islam, well, we just saw he had a head kick knockout against Alexander Volkanovski. Granted, this is in a firefight. Dustin again, immediately off of a takedown, starts looking for the guillotine and drops on it. One more thing about these guillotines is that the reason why dropping on the guillotine is so low percentage is because it actually pulls their head out of the choke, right? If you want a guillotine, generally the person doing the takedown is gonna have to really stick their head in super deep in order for it to be there. It's actually good for a takedown defense, at least first stage of the takedown defense. The guillotine is good to threaten something, but if they're not taking the bait and not putting their head in deeper, kind of like how Vitor Petrino did against Anthony Smith recently, then it's not going to be there, and you really shouldn't jump on it. Even you saw Charles Oliveira, he had a deep guillotine against Armin Saryu, ended up jumping on it, and Armin ended up surviving. Especially if it's an Armin guillotine, not going to happen against a good grappler. I don't like how Dustin just gave his back right there. If Islam's in this position, it's kind of game over, right? Granted, Dustin's put himself here multiple times just by jumping on the guillotines, so it wasn't really Benoit taking him down over and over again. It was Dustin getting excited, jumping on a guillotine, and then finding himself on the bottom. Generally, he had good rear naked choke defense from here, but what I do want to point out is right here at the end, he's guarding the rear naked chokes very well. He's keeping two hands high, trying to at least stick an arm in there. Then when he tries to turn out, it was a little bit ill-advised, and Benoit was able to snatch up like this triangle arm bar, possibly turn it into omoplata, and then the round ended. So yeah, if he finds himself there with Islam, it wouldn't be a good look. But let's continue. One thing Dustin does do really well against southpaws who aren't pressuring him ridiculously like this is he will kick the leg. That was a good uppercut he found. Jumped on another guillotine. Oh man, he likes the arm in guillotines. Like, man, they're a little bit more secure, bro. But yeah, anyways, he does a really good job smashing their calf and kind of opening things up, kind of like how an orthodox against an orthodox fighter would. He's really good against southpaw striking wise, damaging their legs and then starting to pick them apart. He's mounting right here, right? Benoit gets to mount pretty easily, and he rolls to give his back. I guess he's comfortable having his back taken, but man, like I said, against Islam, that's not a place you want to be. So he does end up finding the shot because Benoit keeps pressuring him after he ends up getting up. Actually, let's go ahead and see how he gets out of here. Benoit's falling over the top a little bit. The angle's a little bit off. His back's now against the cage. The rear naked choke will be very hard to find right here because he doesn't have that extension from the hips. Yeah, and because he's not able to extend him because the cage is behind him. Dustin just doesn't worry about the choke anymore, grabs the hips, and then grabs the ankles, and then is able to spin out, get on top. Yeah, so that's how he ended up getting out. Good escapes from Dustin Poirier, good awareness of the cage being around him, but the fact that he gets his back that easily, I don't think it's a smart idea going against Islam Makhachev. Granted, I don't think he's going to be jumping on guillotines against Islam, but we will see, right? He likes the guillotines. That's what we've seen. So moving on to Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. Now this fight started off hot. This is something that Islam is not gonna do. This is actually how you get knocked out. No offense to Michael Chandler, but look at how hot Michael Chandler starts here. Throwing hard kicks, everything in there. But this is okay. Double overhand while switching stances. Throws a kick right back into the overhands. Another kick. Another kick. Bang, tagged him with that one. Dustin's hurt, but man, one thing Dustin can do is weather a storm. He can weather a storm, but one thing, and he can counter in the pocket too. He's very composed when fire's coming at him. In the firefight, man, I don't think there's anyone I like better than Dustin Poirier. The problem is when someone can keep it a little bit cleaner and mix in the takedowns like really well and have really solid game on top, like a Khabib, like a Islam Makhachev, like a Charles Oliveira. That's where it becomes scary. You see how Makhachev is just winging the shit? That's not what Islam is gonna do. However, again, what I wanted to show you from this fight is actually the decision making from Dustin. That's a good check hook that he catches him with. That, yeah, as soon as they go southpaw, you saw how he started smashing that leg. good reaction to that takedown, and then Michael Chandler used it to strike him to the fence. My God, holy shit, Jesus Christ, Michael. And then gets deep on a double. But the first reaction from Dustin wasn't to sprawl. I mean, the cage is behind him, granted, but wasn't to sprawl, wasn't to cross-face the head, using this right arm to cross-face the head. Instead, it was to go over. And on a double leg takedown that's this deep, honestly, if you're going over anything, you should maybe go over the hips, try and cover the head with your stomach, look to body lock them around the waist. That way, you're not getting taken all the way down. Instead, he decides to kind of drop on a half-ass chin strap guillotine, and that's just his natural instinct to do that. So in those fast-paced scenarios, I feel like he is gonna drop on a guillotine, or even if it's not dropping on a guillotine, he's gonna go for that guillotine defense, which Islam, I'm already knowing, will be prepared for. So Michael Chandler doesn't have the best ground game. He has good wrestling, but doesn't have the best top control. He has good wrestling, good ability to get around to the back like that, but the fact of the matter is that Dustin, he gives his back a lot. Now, continuing on with this Michael Chandler Dustin Poirier fight, one thing he did show in this is that, and we always knew Dustin Poirier had heart. He tries to go for this switch again, which you don't go for this switch whenever the hands are locked. This is another bad decision, I guess I would say, because when the hands are locked, you really don't go for a switch. The switches are for when the hands are not locked in wrestling, because they're not allowed to be locked. But going for a switch when the hands are locked, which is grabbing the inside leg, it'll actually drag you down to the mat and, you know, pretty much give them top position again. He tried that against Khabib as well, and it was the same result. And then Michael Chandler was able to suplex him and then just let go of everything. Bad decision making from Michael Chandler. He could have taken way better advantage of that. However, Dustin in the pocket is a scary individual. Standing and banging with fucking Michael Chandler. Oh my God. Talk about that check right hook. Oh God. And then a sharp cross. And then you see how he piles on these combinations. Now, this is one thing. We're not seeing a clean version of it right now, but this is one thing I think can work against Islam. Now, you see how he's just walking down, right? Him stepping with these punches, beautiful, right? So right now he's turning 2-3, throws a kick, another cross, and then he switches stance. Turns this cross hand, his left hand, now into his jab hand, and he walks across the distance, keeps switching stances and throwing those overhands, almost like Michael Chandler did, except he throws it more down the pipe and with more accuracy, more pinpoint, and more education than Michael Chandler did. He does that switching stance combination a lot. We saw him walk down Conor McGregor like that, and generally when he's piling up combinations, he's switching stances with it. And I think that is something that might throw Islam off. We saw Islam get hurt by Alexander Volkanovski when he did that, and we're going to watch that later. But this is one of the things I think Dustin would be successful in doing, and Jesus Christ, he's beating the shit out of Michael Chandler right now. Oh yeah. You just back out with your hands down. Oh God. Okay. All right. Next round. So he had Michael out on his feet right there. Michael is now beat the hell up, and that's a lot of damage to take in 30 seconds, right? So you don't blow your gas in the first minute. And again, so that time he tried to go over, like how we mentioned, and lock his hands. Michael Chandler was still able to pick him up and slam him down. However, he's in the guard of Dustin, so that's not as bad as having your back taken. Dustin is trying to have a active guard, at least with strikes, because Michael's just really trying to hold him down right now. He throws up a nice triangle. This is actually a good triangle attempt that he's throwing up to try and get Michael Chandler's posture up. Michael Chandler's spitting blood at him. Just disgusting. Ends up slipping out of the triangle and kind of rolls to give his back. That's just disgusting. And he's really trying to get these hooks in. Dustin does a good job defending the back takes. But yeah, like I said, man, if Islam gets here, it's a different story. Michael Chandler has the hooks in, cranking on the neck. Dustin's not a quitter, so he's not going to tap like McGregor. So bobs it. As his hand trapped in that wrist rod up against the cage, we know Islam's gonna probably try and go there. Yeah, so we've seen some positive things out of Dustin. We've seen some negative things out of Dustin for sure. And before getting into Islam Makhachev's fights, going into Dustin Poirier's keys to victory in order to win this fight, man, I'm gonna keep it real simple, man. What Dustin definitely needs to do is he needs to smash the calf of Islam Makhachev. He needs to shut down that leg, because for any wrestler, they want their lead leg. They need their lead leg. I was surprised Alexander Volkanovski didn't go to his lead leg more. Islam is good about catching kicks, but if you're kicking the calf, they're generally not going to be able to catch it. What they will try and do is maybe meet you with a cross and look to get into the clinch off of it or throw you off balance somehow. But as long as you're keeping that jab in their face and setting up those kicks, which Dustin Poirier definitely does a good job of against other southpaws, then I think it won't be as difficult to try and shut down Islam's lead leg like that. 2, the second key to victory that Dustin Poirier needs to employ in order to defeat Islam Makhachev is, man, don't jump on a fucking guillotine. That's just, don't jump on a guillotine. Now, I'm not saying don't threaten it, right? Using it and actually choking him with it as he's going for like a double leg or single leg takedown, right? That's actually a viable defense. What it also does is it cuts off their air supply so that they actually become more fatigued and later on in the fight. That's part of the reason why I feel like Benoit Denis got so tired, along with his staph infection and his insane work rate. But don't jump on the guillotine. Use it, have a standing guillotine, whatever you want, just don't jump on it. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. And number 3, the third and final key to victory for Dustin Poirier is to use those switch stance forward combinations, man. If he can start piling up punches like that, man, and really force the shots out of Islam, I think that's what someone hasn't really been able to do yet against Islam Makhachev, is force him to shoot, force him to grapple. Islam's always grappling on his own terms. Khabib did too. He never really rushed a shot, except for maybe against Conor McGregor. A little bit he rushed a shot there, but other than that, man, yeah, I think if Dustin can get Islam shooting reactively, it'll be a lot better case scenario than him actually setting it up, getting to the legs and chaining things together, right? And it'll be a lot more panic, a lot more wasted energy from Islam if he can get him to do that. But yeah, using those switch stance combinations will make him able to close the distance because Islam has very good footwork. It'll allow him to connect a lot harder shots, and last, like I just said, can force him into the shots. So those are my 3 keys to victory for Dustin Poirier to employ in order to win this fight. Another reason why I think this is a close fight is because, man, Dustin has a lot of heart, man. I can see him getting taken down and mauled for 2 rounds and coming back in the 3rd or 4th round to beat Islam Makhachev. I can see that happening. I can see him having a good first round, getting fucked up in the 2nd round, and coming back and winning the 3rd round. I can see this happening. I can also see Dustin Poirier being able to get up from Islam Makhachev, not necessarily by giving his bag all the time, but I can see him being able to throw up triangles or something like that, getting Islam to kind of back out and keep his hips forward, and then using the hips to get into maybe some leg entanglements or something, kind of like Charles Oliveira did to get Islam to back off a little bit. I can see him doing that and employing that. But getting into Islam Makhachev film study for his keys to victory, first fight we're gonna watch from Islam Makhachev is the first fight against Alexander Volkanovski. So a lot of feints. As soon as Alex goes southpaw here, you can see Islam immediately gets onto that jab, so we know that he is educated going against another southpaw. He's immediately going to start working that jab, which is good. But you see, Islam is very patient. He doesn't really come forward as much ever since that Adriano Martinez fight, because he knows if he's letting his hands go coming forward, he's going to leave himself open to get caught. We saw that a little bit against Charles in the Charles Oliveira fight when he came forward and it kind of looked like sloppy, but like a little bit more, I don't know, stuttered, like you're trying to put power behind everything. You could see all the openings that like a Conor McGregor would thought, someone who could just slip out of range, bang, turn his lights off. Or like an Adriano Martinez capitalized on, right? And so he doesn't do that as much. He's more educated. He uses his kick and range a lot better. He uses his footwork a lot better. He generally lets people come to him like this. However, this is one of the things I was talking about that could have an advantage with switching stance. So it was a small stance switch. He threw the 2 into a jab and was able to catch Islam. And then right there, bang, switches with the right hook, touches the hand, switches with the right hook, and then bang, cross right down the middle, stuns Islam. Reason being, Islam backing straight up and not exiting immediately. Boom, boom, right? So going back, Islam's going back straight up, bang. Again, tries to back straight up, gets nailed. Now, this isn't a video trying to critique both fighters, but more just to see what advantages they might have over each other, right? They're both great fighters. They're both best in the world. If I was trying to talk about everything they did right, we'd be here all day. That was a good job exiting by Islam. A lot of good feints. Another thing Islam does really well is once he knows that you're ready for that takedown, he'll start feinting the takedowns, right? He has very educated kicks, so he'll go to the leg and the body. Oh my god, yeah, he stood in there for that one. Boom. But I want you to look at this, right? So he stood in here and swung with Volk, right? Through a head kick. Like I said, they come out of nowhere. Good kicks. Take a look right here, right? What'd you just see? Sorry, I'm gonna turn this speed down just a little bit. So something you see right here, bang. That's a small level change. Gets Volk to bite down, and bang, throws a knee. Probably aiming for his head, hit his body anyways, but good setup. Gets into the clinch with Volk, strong clinch, looks to start trying to take his back. Volk turns to the cage, keeps trying to put that hook in, trying to drag him down. See, he's not gonna try and jump over the top like Benoit St. Denis did. He's more gonna try and weigh you down and look to get on top of you when you're on the ground, right? He's not gonna play that risky game. Takes very little risks. Even the way he gets Volkanovski down right here, moves his weight, gets him down, beautiful trip, stays on top, keeps his hands locked, starts getting to the back. However, round number 2 is where we'll see more of those level changes. Let's go ahead and get it back to normal speed. Now you're seeing the level changes, right? Trying to just measure, trying to see what Volk's gonna give him. Big swing over the top, and you can see he was looking for the takedown right after it, right? He swung that overhand and looked to bring this leg, the same leg behind it, and look at the clinch. Volk got out of range though, and he ended up missing. Then Volk did a good job entering and leaving the exchange. Feinting level changes. Good kick by Islam. That was a good entry from Islam, where he didn't leave himself open. But there he goes, he gets caught going backwards again, because he's trying to counter. And what is it off of again? That switch stance combination. This is what I was talking about, right? Volk does a good job stuffing the head. He could be working his way back to his feet right now, but Islam has his hands locked, so he should not go for a switch. You see how Volk's not going for a switch here? And he's able to defend this more successfully. Instead, he's keeping that elbow in his armpit, which is beautiful weight distribution or counterbalancing. So he's actually using Islam and his own grip against him in order to stay upright against the cage. Now he's not going for that switch. Not once does he look to go for that switch, and he's able to stand up. Beautiful. This is what Dustin needs to employ a little bit. I think after watching the Volkanovski fights, there was more holes, or not even holes, but a lot of things Volkanovski did right that Dustin's gonna probably try and implement. But yeah, let's move forward a little bit. Good takedown again by Islam, but Volkanovski stayed patient, stayed on the wizard. Beautiful. Man, Islam does a good job of rage management with that clinch as well, man. Makes him so hard to deal with. Feint the level change again. As soon as you can see, as soon as he goes southpaw, Islam immediately starts looking to fucking throw that jab. You start seeing those reactions, Volk's giving him that ducking down reaction. Good check hook from Islam. But you see he's not overcommitting on anything. He's not trying to hunt him down with his striking. He'll walk forward, but he's not gonna, oh, even an educated elbow right there. That was smart. Good low kick from Volk. And then he stuns him with that cross. Now, good counter strike, right? Volk went to the body with his backhand. A little risky for MMA. But now, this is where we're gonna see it. Again, you see that level change into a knee. Let's go ahead and slow it down. This is what I wanted to slow down for you guys. Tries to throw a knee right there, and then cuts him off. Again, level change into a knee. Again, almost hits him in the head. Clips him with a couple good shots. Here we go. Bang, another level change into a right hand uppercut. Bang, another level change. Baits a reaction out of Volk. Okay, wait. Back on the jab, another level change. See how he's almost trying to do is walk him into his punches without even throwing anything. Just level changing alone is getting Volk's head going up and down. And he's trying to run him into an uppercut, trying to run him into a knee. In the second fight, he ran him into a head kick by using the exact same method, faking that level change, not getting a reaction. Okay, so he doesn't go. fakes the cross, receives a leg kick. High level chess match right here. And Volk's back now. But you saw how many times he used it whenever and that's when he thought that Volk was hurt, that he used that. Which means, man, he gets very tricky, bro. He is very tricky. His striking is high level. Good uppercut into a knee, into the clinch, and this is where he wants to be. Anytime you see him grab a wizard, just be careful, because that Ushimata's coming. Now, alright, that's all I wanted to watch from the Volkanovski and Islam fight. Moving into the last fight for Islam, it'll be against Bobby Green. Yes, this one was short notice, and Bobby Green does look like a significantly smaller fighter in this one, but it's a tricky guy, it's a good striker, and it's interesting to see his entries here into not only the takedowns, but into the clinch as well. So starting off, immediately goes to that back leg, reading. Bobby goes southpaw, immediately tries to go to the leg of Bobby. Push kick. Islam doesn't cross that void as much. Bobby goes southpaw again, and that's his entry. Bobby goes southpaw, and he enters with a leaping hook. Almost gets caught by this cross. Bobby does a good job almost catching him with that cross, but leaves himself overextended, and Islam gets into a front headlock clinch situation. Bobby goes back. Oh, no, he's staying in southpaw. Bobby looks like he's trying to pull him into something to counter him. Islam's just staying patient, fading the level changes, getting him, and you see Bobby giving the wrestling reactions. Again, Bobby used to be a high school wrestler, right? So you see level change, he pulls that leg back immediately. That lead leg right here, pulled it back. He's ready for that single leg takedown. Level change, level change, level change. He doesn't want to get caught standing in one place with Islam. And you see that FB, right? Bobby throws a 1-2 and then kind of stops. If he continues that 1-2, switches stances and throws another one, he probably would have hit Islam. But it's very early in the fight, doesn't want to show all his tricks. Continues going southpaw. This is a live look at another southpaw, or not even a southpaw, but someone who's choosing to go southpaw with Islam. Live look at what Islam's going to do. Very patient at the beginning. That was a teep, catches the kick. And man, you look how eager he is to get him to the cage and get him down. He didn't want any part of this stand up, dog. Oh, almost got him with that beautiful trip. See, he has that wizard. Bobby goes away from the wizard. Smart idea. And then Islam shoots on the legs. And this is where he gets deep. Bobby goes for a little bit of a guillotine here, kind of like Dustin will do, and he gets him down. Now from here, look how quickly he gets Bobby to surrender a little bit. He gets right onto that knee shield. He's just staying heavy on the leg. Make sure to keep his weight on top of Bobby Green. That way he keeps him down. As long as there's weight on top of this leg, Bobby's going to stay pinned to the floor. It's literally a 1-2-3 dynamic to where Islam's on top. The legs right here is shutting the hips down, or Islam's shutting the hips down by staying on top of him, and Bobby just can't get it to his feet right here. Jiu-Jitsu 101. Bobby tries to elevate him with that hook, taking a little bit of energy, gets to that deep half guard. He doesn't want to stay there though. Islam's pinching his knees, trying to keep that leg trapped. Bobby turns the other way. This is what Islam wants. You see the shoulder pressure, right? See him going body head, trying to manipulate the arms of Bobby, get him to block so that he isn't bringing that leg back in. Goes to the wrist control, looks to go over for a Kimura. Bobby turns to defend it, and that's when he goes and mounts him. Gets that wrist rod. Oh no, he misses the wrist rod. Instead, he just takes the mount, pinches his knees, and forces him to give his back. Even getting caught in the in-between position here is horrible, bro. I've been in there in the training room. I've gotten people there in the training room. Dude, it's terrible. A little bit of a fence grab from Islam, but either way, gets him, flattens him out here, and I can see this happening to Dustin Poirier as well. So don't give your back to Islam Makhachev, because that's the shit that's gonna happen. Don't give him mount. Don't let him pass your guard. This is why Islam's such a big favorite over Dustin Poirier. Now, moving into the keys to victory for Islam Makhachev in order to get the win over Dustin Poirier at UFC 302. Man, Islam Makhachev, God, I hate to say this, but I think striking wise, he should keep it basic. He should keep it boring. He shouldn't overcommit on anything. I think he should try and establish his jab early. That would be, along with keeping it boring, that'd be my first key to victory for Islam Makhachev. So key to victory number one, keep it boring and establish your jab. I wouldn't throw too much out there early. Establishing the jab, maybe trying to damage the lead leg of Poirier would be very crucial for Islam Makhachev. The second key to victory would be to enter the clinch as much as possible, man. We saw Benoit able to get him down multiple times, or in the clinch situation, Poirier just sometimes, or in grappling situations, he just doesn't make the best decisions. I think Islam definitely has the advantage in the clinch. So as long as he can keep getting into that clinch situation, I think he's going to be pretty safe against Dustin Poirier. He's going to throw a couple knees in there, drive him to the cage, clinch him up, and use that cage. It's the second key to victory for Islam Makhachev. Because as long as he does that, he's going to be able to get him down to the ground, and he's going to be able to, even if he gets up and gets space again, he's going to be able to use the threat of the takedown, the threat of the clinch, to keep Poirier from really walking him down. And that kind of goes into the third key to victory as well. It's all kind of blended. This is mixed martial arts at the end of the day, where the third key to victory for Dustin Poirier, in order to win, for Islam Makhachev, in order to win this fight, is to control the range. That's part of using the jab, that's part of using the clinch. Dustin Poirier is going to try and come forward. Even against Khabib, you saw he tried to come forward and take his head off. At some point in that fight, he was like, if I get taken down again, it's not going to be very good. And he knew that, so he tried to take Khabib's head off, right? And in doing so, Khabib never really clinched him up, which I thought was a mistake. Instead, he just used his footwork, circled out, and then ended up shooting on the legs again. I think that Islam does a much better job than Khabib actually using the clinch to negate striking as well. Because what Islam will do is, instead of exiting all the time, he'll just enter forward with his elbows, look to destroy any punches or interrupt any punches coming his way, and then he'll enter into the clinch. And from there, he's extremely good. Always looking for trips, knees, counter throws, anything to get on top like that. So I think if he can manage the range, control the range by using the clinch to slow down Poirier's combinations, I think that Islam will win this fight. Now, moving into the official prediction for this fight, man, like I said, I think it's a close one, and not close in the fact that they both counter each other everywhere. Close in the fact that Dustin Poirier, he's going into this fight really with nothing to lose. People don't expect him to win, which is why he is not the favorite. He already has the experience of going against Khabib and going against Benoit Denis in his last fight, which were both grapplers who had kind of similar grappling styles to Islam Makhachev. Dustin Poirier also has the striking advantage, specifically with the hands, to where Islam Makhachev, I would say, has the kicking advantage as far as high kicks go, and the grappling advantage. Totally. However, if Dustin, with that boxing range, can force out the takedowns from Islam, I think it changes the whole fight. And Islam not being a big fan of that boxing range is why I have this fight so even. But if I had to choose a winner, if I had to put my money on someone, I think I've doubted Islam Makhachev too many times. I'm always rooting for Dustin Poirier. I'm always a fan of Dustin Poirier. I mean, how could you not be? But I'd be putting my money on Islam Makhachev. So for my official prediction, I'm choosing Islam Makhachev to beat Dustin Poirier. I think it'll be, I'm gonna say, third to fourth round finish via ground, right? So whether that's a TKO on the ground or whether that's a submission, I think that would be my official prediction for Islam Makhachev. If you are new to the channel, I don't like betting decision wins or whatever unless I really think it's going to be a decision, because I feel like every fight should end in a finish. So with that being said, thank you guys for stopping by and tuning in to Nwadei MMA's ultimate breakdown of Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev at UFC 302. Stay tuned for my breakdown of Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa, because that should be coming soon. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments and thoughts down below in the comment section, and subscribe to join the family. Thank you guys for 2,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.